Yeah, that's right.
All
Mr.
right.
Free. Mr. Free Power.
Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Films in Black and White. I am one of your co-hosts, Brian Roush, and I am doing this opening. Doug Wagner is doubled over in laughter. We are happy that you are here. And Doug, are you feeling good? You feeling good enough to talk?
I'm losing my shit for two reasons.
Okay. Well, that's okay. That's okay. We're glad that you're here. That's what I know.
I'm losing my shit for two reasons. One, Brian's threat to me before this started.
It was not a threat.
It was the funniest shit I've ever heard.
That was hilarious.
And
that was
two,
hilarious.
You all couldn't see this, but where the little video intro is going, I looked away and I looked down, and Brian's just running out of the room he's recording in, and it was the funniest shit I've ever seen. I was like, "What?"
It's the LaCroix.
I needed my LaCroix.
It's the LaCroix.
Okay,
LaCroix.
It was oof, you guys.
Look, I know
it was hilarious.
I know I have 30 seconds. Before that intro ends, okay?
Brian was trying to win a gold medal.
That intro alone, he went for gold. That was
but
amazing.
welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. That was a rough start.
Yeah.
Brian did the intro, so thanks, Brian.
No problem. I thought I'd just pick it up.
No, that's
you
needed to.
Take care of that.
Let's kick it on over to one Marcus J. Destin. Marcus, how you feeling?
I'm good. I'm ready to podcast, y'all. Y'all have me dying laughing. I'm ready to get to it. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get to it.
We absolutely have a lot to talk about. The first thing we have to talk about is we got to play Catch That Quotable.
Yes, we do.
And for those of you that don't know, Marcus is also helping with the video, so we're a little, fun things happen here on Film.
Love it.
We have to settle some score, and for those that don't know, this is the weekly segment where we quiz each other on movies and highlight what we don't know. And for those who are curious, here is the updated scoreboard. I am bringing up the rear. With
you are.
8. Marcus is nipping at Brian's heels with 10.
Ooh,
Brian is in the lead with 11. So, Brian, you're in charge of the scoreboard. So, Brian, what would you like to do with the game this week?
Doug, I would invite you. You to start us off.
Okay. Well,
a humble king.
I appreciate that. That's really nice to toss it down to us, the peasants.
You measly us. Why you say us? I'm 1 point behind.
There are other people who are in here with me. I wasn't including you.
Population of one.
Yeah, right. Loser town population. This guy. So here's my quote. Y'all ready? It's a little bit longer.
Ready.
Oh, I am about that life. No. I will get crazy up in here. You like movies? We'll make a movie. We'll make Mama Say Knock You Out, starring my fist in your dick hole.
Okay.
I
read it again.
Yes, please.
Oh, I am about that life. No. I will get crazy up in here. You like movies? We'll make a movie. We'll make Mama Say Knock You Out, starring my fist in your dick hole.
That's really interesting.
I have no idea what this is.
I feel like I know this comedic. I know the comedic cadence of this person. I want to think that it's Will Ferrell.
Okay.
I want to think that it's Will Ferrell, but can I get a hint? If Brian doesn't need a hint, I'm
gonna need a hint. I have no idea.
Your hint is dating.
Okay. All right. And y'all can help us out in the comments. We see y'all.
If y'all in the comments have an idea of what this is, please let us know.
I have no. I'll buzz in. Like I'll just go for. Is this Knocked Up?
This is not Knocked Up. It's a fair guess, Brian. And
That's
Brian,
fine.
You're in the right neighborhood.
Damn
You're in the right neighborhood.
That means this is a white comedy. I don't know it.
What is that supposed to mean about me, Marcus? No, I'm kidding. It's totally cool. I have seen most Judd Apatow movies, so this is fair. This is totally.
I was gonna say there's not a lot of time I'm watching like Seth Rogen or like
no, it makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like
it makes sense. No, it's fine.
not my comedic styling. Okay, I'm just gonna guess. I was thinking Get Hard with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell.
It is not Get Hard with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell. Gentlemen, this is the 2015 Judd Apatow movie.
It was Judge Apatow.
Trainwreck. And it is said by one John Cena in Trainwreck.
Okay.
Was LeBron in that?
He was in that.
Yeah.
And who else? Who was the?
It's Bill Hader, Amy Schumer, LeBron James, John Cena, some other comedians. Mike Birbiglia is in it. So
I think that movie did really well.
It was actually not bad. It was a pretty decent movie, so I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it too.
Awesome. Well, there you go, gentlemen. That's my start.
All right.
Brian, it's on you.
All right. I will take it from here, gentlemen. When a man with 40... Hang on. I'm going to start this again.
Yeah, make it nasty.
All right. Take two. When a man with a 45 meets a man with a rifle, you said the man with a pistol's a dead man. Let's see if that's true. One more time for everybody. When a man with a 45 meets a man with a rifle, you said the man with a pistol's a dead man. Let's see if that's true.
All right.
And that's your quote.
Too many guns in here.
My first knee-jerk reaction is that this is Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
That's my knee-jerk because it feels very like, it feels very Western-y. But that's my knee-jerk reaction. Marcus, what are you feeling?
Man, the man with the 45 and the man with the right. Okay, so obviously the person talking is the man with the pistol.
Yeah.
And he's saying he's going to survive this whole thing.
Yeah.
So I also am feeling Western, but I don't know a lot of Western titles. So for me, I am a little bit confused.
All right,
Brian, can we get a hint?
Yes, you can get a hint. The hint is East.
It is Clint Eastwood. East?
Okay.
East in location or East in the name? That's the thing.
Well, it's Brian.
The clue is East.
So here's my guess, Brian.
That didn't help
My
at all.
guess is, Brian, is this the good, the bad, and the ugly? Brian?
I'm sorry. I lost connection. I'm so sorry. I was getting an echo. I apologize.
No, you're totally fine.
I was like, they already talked about this. I don't understand what's happening here.
Brian,
Thank you for that patience. Thank you for that patience. Are you? Please say your guess again. I apologize.
No, you're totally fine. I would love to. Is this the good, the bad, and the ugly?
It is not.
Okay. That's
East. Damn it, Doug. That's the only Western movie that I know the title of. Okay, I'm gonna say that it is a Clint Eastwood movie.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say, what's the movie before The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Because the Good, the Bad, the Ugly is the last of that series. I know because my mom watches Westerns.
Okay.
No idea.
I'm gonna say The Devil's Got a Gun.
It is not. It is not that movie. This movie is A Fistful of Dollars, starring Clint Eastwood.
I think A Fistful of Dollars is a part of that series.
And then there's a few dollars more. Is that the one?
Yeah, and then it's The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, right?
Yeah.
Is the last one. Yeah.
Good quote, Brian.
That was good.
Quote.
Well, thank you. That is inspired by my father, Bill Rausch. He loves a good Clint Eastwood Western. So.
What up, Bill?
Thanks for helping Brian out, Bill.
Sorry, Mr. Bill. Sorry.
Mr. Bill.
Sorry,
Mr. Bill.
You're fine. You're fine. Thank you for your patience, by the way, because I was like getting repeats in my ear, and I was like, "This isn't right. This isn't right at all."
No, you are totally fine. That's gonna happen, and that's okay.
Well, we pushed through it, Marcus. I guess you're finishing us out.
Yeah, here we go. All right. Don't be afraid of losing people. Be afraid of losing yourself by trying to please everyone. One more. Don't be afraid of losing people. Be afraid of losing yourself by trying to please everyone.
Marcus always comes in with like these deep, what I feel like are deep quotes, and he's like, "Nope, it's not. It's a movie with Jamie Kennedy in it." I'm like, "God damn it!" And I get completely thrown off.
First of all,
like a Chris Farley movie or something.
Yeah. But
Come on.
oof.
Is it
Give
a
me
high
some fight. Come on, fight back, fellas.
Look, it feels like a high school movie. Like I'll
It does
I'll
feel
call that
like
out.
that.
Like, you gotta find yourself. And you're like, yeah, I do.
Mm.
Yeah, it feels like that. It also feels like it could be like The Pursuit of Happiness with Will
Ooh,
Smith.
I like
It
that.
feels it could be that too. Like
Yeah.
a message a father's giving a son. That's my general feeling of it, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
all right,
Okay.
Marcus, give us that hint.
Your hint is going to be love.
All right. All right. I'll buzz it. Is this love? Is this Love Actually?
No, it is
All right.
actually not Love Actually. I apologize.
Ow, you got me.
Okay. I'm gonna go with. Is this? I'm gonna go with The Pursuit of Happiness because that's what it feels like. I'm sticking with it. Is that what this is?
It is not. Gentlemen, great guesses. This is the movie Coco from 2017.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, Coco. Come on, y'all. That was
God,
an
I'm
emotional
so
movie.
I've seen
I'm
that movie like
embarrassed.
30 times.
That was an emotional
Yes.
movie, and you didn't remember it. And obviously,
No, because-
Disney
No.
didn't do their job.
Wait a minute. No. I'm pushing back. I do remember that movie. I remember that
No,
movie because I was
absolutely
crying at the end.
remember that movie.
Every
That-
single
yeah.
time I get emotional.
Yeah. I think everybody cried watching Coco. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like that movie, if you
in the
didn't cry,
heart.
you got the little lump in your throat.
Oh, for sure.
Oh
we were
my
like,
gosh.
yep, yeah.
Yes.
No, that's
Yes.
and I've heard the
Yeah.
soundtrack a bunch because the soundtrack is really good too. Like,
Yeah.
just everything top to bottom about that is good.
Yeah,
Good
that is a
quote.
solid movie.
Let me tell y'all a story.
Yes.
Let me tell you the story how me and Doug were headed back from the movie theater, right?
Okay.
And I'm driving. Doug paid for the ticket because last time I paid for the ticket and Doug drove. This is
That's our arrangement.
it's how it
Oh,
naturally
okay.
happened. Okay.
Okay.
So this is what happens.
Happy for you.
We're driving back, right? Coming into town. It's about 11 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
All right. 11 o'clock at night. Driving by, it's pitch black. We live in South Dakota. For some reason, there is a raging fire in somebody's backyard. It's a bonfire, but it looks like a raging fire.
It was easily. I'm about 5'10", 5'11", and I'm pretty sure I would be engulfed in flame. Like
Yes.
it was that high.
It was high.
Yeah.
Next to that ball of fire was a wooden piece. It was a tall wooden piece, something like you would hang your clothes on a hang line, right?
Yep.
It was a wooden piece that looked like a capital T. In my black ass mind, all I saw was somebody is burning crosses.
Don't
here
like
in
that.
Vermilion.
Don't like that.
It was y'all. If you could have felt the air in that vehicle got sucked out so fast. He and I were like, oh yeah. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
What the?
I stopped everything. But here's the part that got me. My friend Doug Wagner is laughing the entire time.
Oh, Doug.
He's laughing. He's laughing after I realize, oh, that's not a cross. That's just a bonfire and a random object right next to it. But he laughed the entire time home.
I will say this. I chuckled because
It wasn't no damn chuckle.
one,
I don't know. Where's this going?
when I get uncomfortable,
Mm.
I immediately I'm one of those people that's like an awkward moment. I'm like,
That is a normal reaction to have.
That's terrible timing, though.
Seth
it
Rogen,
is.
like that like laugh. That's me when shit starts to get awkward. And there was this moment where I was pretty confident it wasn't a burning cross, but the way Marcus responded, I had to wait until he was like, okay, it wasn't. I'm fine. And then I felt like I could start laughing. But yeah, that's
a lie.
That was
I didn't know
a
what
lie.
was going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, gentlemen, I
Had
have
it
a
been
question for
burning
you.
cross, I would have made sure you were okay.
Oh,
If it were an actual, I'm not gonna laugh.
That's
at you
not
like,
cool.
oh, look at this guy experiencing racism in his hometown. Like, I'm not gonna be that guy. But
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No,
You just never know when they pop up, and just
it's true.
it makes you nervous. I get nervous. But gentlemen, I have a question for you.
What is the question?
Growing up, obviously we are all fan of fandoms, right?
Yes.
We all have our things that we love and that we are essential diehards for here and there. You know what I mean?
sure.
We have a passion for, comic book, pop culture,
Yes.
and things like that.
Yeah.
I want to know, what is it? What character, movie, moment was it that really Doug is that guy. Thank you, Sam. Doug is in fact that guy.
Yeah.
Yes,
Really,
yeah,
it's accurate.
yeah. And I should have known better, but it's okay. But but I want to know, what was the moment, character, show that got you hooked on, this path that we're on, this, being fan of fandoms and Marvel universes and comic books and doing a podcast about this shit on a regular basis. Like, what is it that got you hooked? Do you remember that moment?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I'll go first because I feel like mine's, I don't know. I don't know if it's kind of boring, but I always remember it, but I don't remember the moment. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
I always remember being like, I remember seeing Star Wars when I was little.
Yeah.
But I think what always got me hyped about certain fandoms, whatever those may be, was the people that they were like in proximity to.
Yeah.
Like, so I remember like my neighbor across the street, he was into Star Wars, maybe a little bit more than I was.
Right.
And so like he got really big into the trading cards. And I know that kind of got like me hyped up. And I know that like
these trading cards,
those trading cards.
You just you just pulled that out of nowhere.
Well, I look at these when I had to be on long meetings. You don't have the video on. And I'm just these are pretty pictures.
Really quick, he's not Mr. 3000 for nothing. Okay, like he's got to have his props and his
study.
I mean, he's probably got
like the back
Nerf,
of his hand.
He's probably like in front of that camera. He probably has like a Nerf blaster where he could just pull it and be like, "See, this one's from episode 36." Like, yeah,
look how he floated. Look how he floated it in here, and this is a gap.
And
this is the Nerf Hyper Seed 50.
Look at that shit. Look at that shit over there.
Like, what the hell?
But I just remember being. That's kind of where it started. I think the big thing for me, like the big defining moment, came when Lord of the Rings came out.
Okay.
Because I remember feeling like that tapped into something that I don't think I had ever, like, I've always had been a fan of stuff like that, but I don't think I really got tapped into it until those movies came out. I mean, I remember the end of Return of the King. I cried. Like, I was just like, it was one of those where
so you were invested.
I was very emotionally invested in their journey and where things were at. But that's probably the first one where I really noticed it. But like Star Wars and other kind of fantasy driven things were kind of always in my proximity. I can say this, comic books is not something I really got into actually until I met Brian. Because Brian was really into it.
Hi, hello.
He used to be like my, like in college, sort of like my walking encyclopedia. So like Iron Man would come out, and I'd be like, "Was it close? Was it close?"
So what did you think?
Right, yeah. So I kind of like based it off of where Brian was at. But that's, I mean, I think it's more, again, whatever the fandom has been for me, it's more been about the people the memories have been associated with than necessarily the fandom and the art itself, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair.
Definitely.
That's fair. Brian, what about you?
I think like my Star Wars experience is like, it's a little drawn out and weird and sacred, and I'll save that for like another time.
Okay.
That is really special, but like that's not what got me into like fandoms, is what I will say. Like that came like when I was like in 4th grade, I want to say. And what got me into like stuff before then, weirdly enough, or maybe not, was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And like,
that's fair.
I don't know. I can't tell you what it was. Maybe it's because I was a little boy and I was like, these guys do ninjas, but they're mutants and they fight robots. Like, I don't know. I can't tell you. What I do know though, is like, I immediately attached myself to Leonardo, the leader of the Ninja Turtles in this era, I think is a good way to put it, in the 90s cartoon era. And I was like, yeah, like these ninjas are awesome. And they're like teenagers. So they're kind of like kids like me. And obviously you want to be the leader of them. That's when I started realizing, like looking back when I do leadership training now, I'm like, oh no, not everybody wanted to be Leonardo. Like, no, like they want to be Michelangelo. Like what?
Or Raphael.
Raph, man.
Raph.
Yes.
That's a can full of emotions right there.
That too. No,
That's true.
Donatello though. Everyone's like, nah, I don't want to be there with the stick.
Yeah, no,
But,
nobody wants to be Donnie, but you know,
but like you
need a Donnie. You have to have a Donnie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what Doug said. Like there's this built-in community. And like I
Yeah.
connected with that because I could go up to other kids and be like, well, I like Leonardo. And they're like, well, I like Michelangelo. And you're like, cool, can we be friends? And you're like, yeah. And then you go pretend to fight robots and foot soldiers and Bebop and Rocksteady, you know? And
I remember that.
I think it is partially that connection, but like I can't exactly tell you what it was about seeing like Turtles, and then I was like, I need to know everything.
Yeah, I need to know all of it.
Yeah. So
That's
that was
fair.
it for me. What about you, Marcus?
That's fair. Okay, so I'm kind of lost as to where timeline is. That kind of blurs the line as to what year what came first.
Sure.
But two shows that I vividly remember that really got me attached, and I think that they parallel very well. Because they are from the same story structure, right? You have a group of people who do this thing.
Sure.
So Power Rangers and Voltron.
Yeah.
So Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the original, back when way before Tommy joined. I'm talking like when Jason was the Red Ranger.
And
Voltron.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Because and Voltron was really because a neighbor friend of mine had a Voltron toy that he gave to me. It was the old school one where they all broke off into individual pieces.
So cool.
Put them back together, right? And that, you know, I was on eBay the other day just looking at different stuff, and that stuff like that is going for like $300-$400 now.
For sure.
Yes.
And it's really interesting to see like the old stuff that I grew up with. Like even Tobey Maguire Spider-Man action figures are like $50 now.
Are
at
they
minimum.
really?
Oh yeah. They are expensive.
Yeah, they're nuts.
And the thing about those action figures, just real quick, those when they made those Spider-Man toys, they had individual fingers on them. So that was back when toys were like $10. They were not like 20. Like nowadays, they're like $20. Back then, toys were like $7 to $10. They're expensive as hell.
Yeah, they went all out.
Thankful that my kids aren't like we have a set of action figures, but like it's like they don't know you can have action figures of everything, and I'm gonna try to keep it that way as long as possible.
Long as you can. No, you have to. But for me, it was Power Rangers more specifically because I always say it. Power Rangers taught me the structure of a story. I knew that you have a beginning, you have the middle. When the Zord comes up, that means I have about 5 minutes left of this TV show. It also, you know, they cued commercials in at certain points where I got to a point where I was able to time when like what was happening, what was like, at what point of the episode, like, oh, this is going to be a to be continued episode because the Zord already came out and it's like only this much time left or whatever, right? So, and also the idea of you have this diverse group of people, all of these colors, and they didn't really explain a lot of shit. They were just like, we need 5 badass teenagers in different colors and do it for the ghost head. And they were just like, you know what? Huzzah, let's do that shit.
I want to film the black and white shirt that says do it for the ghost head. That is hilarious. Because Zordon was just a giant ghost.
With no explanation as to why he was there. And it did it. And then, of course, you go and introduce my favorite Ranger now, Tommy. And you have this badass where he wasn't even supposed to be on there that long, but people loved him so much. They made him a regular. So Power Rangers definitely laid the foundation for then when I go see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all of these team shows, Beetleborgs, all of these shows that tried to echo Power Rangers, and not even American Power Rangers, but like we know it doesn't
Super
come from
Sentai,
America. Super Sentai. So that was it for me, really.
No, I almost said Power Rangers, but I was like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat them to the punch.
Oh, I could see that too, though. It's close, though.
It's
that's absolutely
it's
fair.
Close, so
I will say this to follow up this question. There was a moment there where like stuff like Star Wars and stuff like Power Rangers and other things didn't really play into like where I spent the majority of my time. There was a moment probably from about like 10 to 17, like 7 years, a solid 7-year chunk where anything comedy or humor, like I had penciled my name in for. Like if it was a comedy movie, I signed up for it. There was a while there where I was like, I'm gonna be I thought when I was like 15, I'm like, I'm just gonna go to New York and be a part of Saturday Night Live. And there was all of that stuff, and I dove it. Like I would go back and watch the first season of SNL and think it's hysterical.
Oh man,
that type of stuff for me always and I ended up seeing a lot of bad movies because the late 90s, early 2000s was all like, hey, we got these 3 big actors and it's not funny, but I signed up for it. I would rent it at Blockbuster and I would go home. Like that is absolutely, I lived that life 100%.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, yeah, I feel like,
and just to prove it, Sam, I have shown him the videos of me trying to be funny publicly for other people. So Sam has come in, and Sam is my accountability buddy, I guess, today.
Accountability buddy.
Because real quick, as Marcus was telling me that I was laughing at his misery, I was Doug as that guy, has been
that guy. And will be that guy. Yeah.
Wow. He sent all those messages in succession.
Shout out to Sam.
Shout out to Sam. You need people to build you up as well.
Accountability buddies.
Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly where it's
at.
Right on.
Yeah, that's where I spent the majority of my time.
And I think that that's a good point too. Like, yes, the geeky, nerdy stuff, whatever we consider geeky, nerdy, flashy, punchy, Power Rangers, all that kind of stuff is cool. But also there's other genres that I enjoy that I like that, you know what it really was for me that really got me into movies?
What's that?
It was this moment, and it was, I vividly remember my uncle, he was watching me. Well, my uncle was watching me and my cousin was acting up or he was being bad or whatever. And he told us, because he used to get sneak previews to movies all the time. He told us, he was like, if you don't stop fucking up, I'm not gonna tell you what like the coolest scene that I saw in X-Men 2. And I was like, huh? And I was like, I don't know what that means, you know, like whatever. We used to watch movies all the time, with all the DVDs and stuff. But he told me about the scene with Magneto pulling the iron out of the guy's body. And then I vividly remember going to go see it, and I was like, this is the coolest shit I have ever seen in my life.
For sure.
X2 was like the jump. I was like, I want more. I need more. Like that was amazing. So, and I don't know, you just love movies for what they are. Wild Wild West.
Yep.
Mummy Returns. Like these are Men in Black, like Rugrats, like the old school Rugrats VHS. Just like teaching yourself to work the VHS. Like these are dope moments. I think we shouldn't overlook, especially like in the world that we live in. The world is changing, going to like streaming. You know, we don't know what'll happen to theaters. Hopefully.
That's an interesting point because you talked about like shows teaching you like how long an ad break was and what a show structure is. When you and Brian, I don't know about your experience, but like if my kids go to somebody's house who actually has cable, they are like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is this? They'll literally like when a commercial shows up, they'll be like, it's not working. Like, and it's like nobody like that. That's how TV works. Like, honestly, so it's interesting to kind of hear that and to see the distance we've come. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, I just wanted to say ditto to that. Like, whenever they're at someone else's house, it's like, be cool. Like, be cool, kids. Because, like, anytime a commercial comes on, Liam thinks, like, you stopped the movie. And it was like, no.
I don't want to watch this. Yeah, we know nobody wants to watch this.
But by the way, now when, like, something doesn't work, he's like, is it an ad? And it's like, no, the app crashed. We're probably watching it on
HBO Max fucking it up again. This time for little kids.
Just fix the rewind button. Are you making me
fast forward or the series page
and the pause and subtitles? Just fix it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right.
This is a great transition because the movie we watched this week was also on HBO Max as well as in the theater.
It was.
And this week we saw James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
Yes, we did.
And y'all, just real quick before we get into it, like in depth, this was good. Like this was a lot of fun.
Really
good. This was a fun watch. But the most important thing,
it was annoying. It was annoyingly good.
Yes, it was kind of one of those where I was like, "Shit, this podcast is gonna be tough tomorrow." Because I don't know if you know this, I built a brand on being nitpicky.
You did.
Anyway, but in order to really bring and round out our experience, Marcus, can you give us your barbershop summary
for sure?
The Suicide Squad.
Let's do it.
I'd love to. All right. What had happened was you get the second attempt. They say Jesus came. Okay, never mind. Scratch
Okay.
that. All right, they say lightning don't strike twice. So Suicide Squad apparently gets a second chance. I have no idea where I was going with that. G
That's
thing.
okay.
Like, very
So
like,
we're here
I
now.
I don't know where I was going. I was where I was going with that. But what happens is WB gives their second attempt at the Suicide Squad. Now, I mean, so basically, you get these group of heroes, well, villains, anti-heroes, whatever you want to, whatever phrase is new and popping right now, anti-heroes and villains. You get this group together, and you got crazy ass Amanda Waller, but talented ass Viola Davis.
Oh my gosh! So happy
she
they
was
kept her.
amazing. So, like, you basically get Amanda Waller, who puts together this team, puts bombs in the back of their head, and tell her, "You do what the hell I said, or I'm gonna blow you to pieces." Okay. Now, for those of you that don't remember, the first Suicide Squad film, by David Ayer, I think, came out in 2017.
Yeah.
2016, 2017 had a phenomenal soundtrack, but did not go over well. Everybody's arguing for a David Ayer cut because he said it wasn't his movie. He even made a whole monologue about it on Instagram about, you know, the Suicide Squad, but how he was happy for James Gunn. Anyway, you basically get these bad guys. They come together. She forces them to do her dirty work, and they got to come together, be a team, and all this other stuff like that. The main players in this is really Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, and these are, you know, Ratcatcher 2, King Shark is in this. And so basically you get this wide plethora. They all got different powers, they all do different shit, but it's more of a comedy. It's bloody, it's gory. They go, she sends them out. There's this weasel that dies on the beach. They all go, you know, jumping out of jets and shit. There's a person with a javelin, there's a whole lot of blood, guts, and gore. There's a person with BTK. And they have to go to this beach to nope, I'm not even going to say the name. They have to go to this place. They have to go to this beach because there's a secret weapon there that they got to cover up, right? And so it's up to the Suicide Squad to go stop this because the kingdom was taken over and they killed the original kingdom people, and now like new people is taking over. But then that person then dies because Harley shoots that person, and then a new person takes over, and he's a drunk and he burned birds alive. And I just was wondering, what do burnt birds smell like? Because I don't think that I've ever experienced that outside of a turkey on Thanksgiving. But then, so like you go and they go the rest of the movie trying to figure out what was in this building called Jotunheim, and they got to go in there, they got to blow it to fucking pieces, they got to fight an entire army, then they got to fight an entire city, then they got to fight some rats, then they got to fight Amanda Waller. It's a whole lot of shit. So you basically get this story of this team that really is, they just don't click well. They're not meant to be a Justice League, they're just meant to be the Suicide Squad. It's a suicide mission.
That's, you know what? That's a pretty spot on barbershop summary, to be honest with you, of this story start to finish. So again, Marcus, kudos to you for walking us through that. I do think it's important to note for us before we get any further, we are going to talk about spoilers.
All the spoilers.
Thankfully, the barbershop summary does a great job of giving people an overview, but I think it's pretty spoiler free, to be honest.
I try my best to,
But from here on out, if you want to go see the Suicide Squad, stop now, come back to us, and we will catch you after you've seen it.
But make sure you come back to us. That's the important part.
Yeah, but come back.
Always come back.
Important you come back. But in order to really get into it, I want to give you all the rundown of some figures of both box.
Did you hear what I said?
I kind of did, but I just kept moving.
So he was just blown right past it.
I was like, I'm setting the sights on the transition. So I'm not gonna be
don't worry,
down.
You'll hear it in post.
Okay, good, awesome. But here's the numbers I want to give y'all. So both box office, and then I want to run you down who's in this.
Yes.
So in the United States, this movie made $2.6 million. Sorry, North America, $26.5 million in North American theaters, but worldwide it made $72.2 million total. So that includes the North American box office. So it did really, really well. I will note that the North American opening was a little bit less than expected, but we are dealing with a variant and on that type of thing. But it did get the honor of scoring the top North American opening of the pandemic era for an R-rated title. Because, you know, for some reason, WB has figured out how to do R-rated superhero movies really, really well. So that's and kudos to them for that. So
shit down pat.
Kind of give you all a rundown of all of the people in this. So I'm going to start at the top. Margot Robbie reprises her role as Harley Quinn. Idris Elba plays Bloodsport. John Cena is in this as Peacemaker. Joel Kinnaman stars as Colonel Rick Flag. Micah Rooker is Savant. Viola Davis, as Marcus mentioned, is in this. John Ostrander plays Dr. Fitzgibbon. Nathan Fillion plays TDK. Jai Courtney plays Captain Boomerang. Fulaborg plays Javelin. Mei Ling, last name. I'm so sorry, Mei Ling. I'm going to say Mei Ling plays Mongol because I cannot pronounce her last name.
Yeah.
I don't want to be disrespectful and like butcher it. Pete Davidson plays Blackguard. Sean Gunn plays Weasel. And then you start to get into some other folks as we kind of dive deeper into the roster. But that's a lot of people in this overall, start to finish. But gentlemen, we got to start somewhere. So what did you all like about this movie? I think our format today is going to be a little bit different because I have a feeling our list of things we didn't like is going to be very, very short. So I have some questions to kind of tease out some other things. But let's start with the good. What did you all like about this movie?
I just read an interesting post I want to drop here because I think it's relevant. They just talked about an interview that AMC had during their like earnings report, and apparently they have just reached an agreement with the movie theaters. With streaming with Warner Brothers for a shorter release. So movies like Batman and stuff like that will only appear in theaters, but then they'll do 45 days instead of what it is now. Because I know we had reported on it earlier that they were pissed at first because they were like, y'all were just doing what the fuck y'all wanted to do. And so I think that's important because we're talking about Suicide Squad, which released both. And we're talking about numbers and Scarlett Johansson versus Disney. And I just want to put that out there just as anything, wherever it fits. So
no, that's fantastic.
What I think they did well, I will always go casting first. Yep. So 100%. Casting is super important for a movie like this. We know James Gunn's director style. When it comes to teen movies, you have to have actors that click and just gel well and look good together on film. And I think that he did that. He did well. All of them acted their ass off. There wasn't somebody 100%. Who was slacking that I felt like was like lagging behind. So I really want to compliment the acting. Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, everybody did their part. So and Viola Davis, like, good Lord, like she was acting her ass off as Amanda Waller.
For sure. 100%.
And I feel like we also this ensemble cast stuff is really hard to pull off. And you can tell that James Gunn learned a lot from Guardians of the Galaxy, both 1 and 2. And even his previous work, you can tell that he knows how to get an ensemble cast together and motivated and going pretty fast. I mean, this movie's not short, is what I'm gonna say. I'm trying to look for it's 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Not short.
So it's not short, but like he covers so much ground character wise, and even sets up a joke with covering all those characters within the first, I'd say, half hour. That's such a wonderful payoff that
sure.
The team that is focused on the first beach is wiped out, and then it's like, just kidding. Here's the real team, team. Brilliant. That was the best way to do that.
Sure. And I think the other thing that's to his credit, and I think this is like to James Gunn's style and his ability to like keep things going, is he kept track of the plot details in a way in which you never really felt like he didn't get lost in trying to tell so many stories. I mean, Marcus's barbershop summary works really, really well because there's not a lot of complicated mess to this particular plot. No. It's pretty much a straight line.
The plot is the plot.
And so I think what he did well is he was able, because he kept the plot simple, didn't try to do too much with it. He was able to build in some of those other moments, like the backstory with Ratcatcher 2, and some of those other like backstory moments. He was able to cover those so well because he just didn't try to do too much. He didn't try to be extra about it. Like he just kind of said, like, yep, this is what it is.
Yeah. And once again, the character development is so important. You have a fucking walking shark walking around. Yeah. Like that is not an easy character for you to have to give emotion to and give some depth to outside of just being pulling a Hulk for a character. Like okay, you make them big in CGI, so now they're big and goofy or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? That's my personal beef with the Hulk. But he did well with characters like King Shark. Even for the characters we didn't really know, he still invested the time into them in the beginning for you to feel like, okay, I guess this is the team. Even though I knew in the credits, I was like, okay, so do they pick up more people or is this it? Like, you killed Captain Boomerang.
Oh my gosh.
It blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. That was the moment that I doubted what I was seeing in the first sequence, because I was like, wait a minute, Captain Boomerang was like a central part of the last movie. Are they really just gonna kill? Oh, they did.
Yep,
they just killed him.
They killed that, and it wasn't like a hidden kill.
No,
it wasn't one of those like, oh, I think a rock may have fell on him and he escaped. No, they showed his charred body holding his boomerang.
Yeah.
And in addition, they were, and to kind of to that point, the gore with all of this. I mean, poor Pete Davidson's face got blown off.
That was the first. I think that was the first gory moment. That was the one that said it all.
That was incredible.
And then, and I also appreciated that like Amanda Waller actually got to flip a switch and blow somebody up.
Yeah,
like, this is all within the first like 20 minutes, 15 minutes of this movie of like following through on the promises offered here. And I think, Brian, to your point of being like, to all of those people that said this is too many characters to keep track of, don't worry, I fixed it. Like I've just killed half of them, and it's not an issue.
And we kind of talked about that when the trailer came out. I'm just like, no way everyone's gonna make it through it. And I kind of wish we did like a Deadpool a little bit like last week of who is actually gonna survive. But I also feel like, in a way, the trailer kind of communicated like, look, there's going to be like 4 people you actually care about, and don't worry about the rest. So it worked out. It was fine. Yeah.
Well, Doug and I actually did do a Deadpool thing. We did it in the middle of the movie, and I leaned over and I asked him, who do you think the 3 people that are going to, like your top 3 people who are going to die?
Yeah.
And who are they going to be? And Doug, who did you name?
I thought Ratcatcher was going to die. I thought either her or Idris Elba were going to die, just based on how they were talking to one another. I was like, Ratcatcher or Bloodsport's going to die. And then I predicted that Rick Flag was going to die. Then I also called, there was another one. I feel like it was Polka Dot Man I said was going to die.
I think you said Polka Dot Man.
Yeah. So
you predicted Rick Flag was going to bite it? Really?
You did.
I just had a feeling. I kind of had a feeling of like, especially with he was a lot more superhero-y in this movie than he was elsewhere. I mean, especially with how he talked to the rebels in the jungle. He was sort of like, well, don't worry. Like when we're there, it's going to open up an opportunity for you to be there at the Capitol. I was like, he's going to die.
He's out of here.
He's going to die on that hill for that. So, but yeah, no, I thought that was my 3. But I feel like, Marcus, you got 2 of those right as well, didn't you?
I think I got. So I definitely thought Bloodsport was going to die.
Yep.
I thought Bloodsport was going to die because they was really building up him being his leader and really getting us attached to him.
Okay.
I think I got Polka Dot Man and Peacemaker. I think I said Peacemaker.
Yeah.
I said Peacemaker, knowing that he's got an HBO Max series coming. So technically I was wrong because I think I said Peacemaker. I think it was Peacemaker. But technically, obviously, if you stay for the end credits, he did not die. So now it's kind of, there's here. Here we are.
Brian, did you have any thoughts on, as the things were kind of going along, if there were any of those remaining heroes that were going to die off?
I mean, no. I the only thing I wanted to add was I assumed Bloodsport would make it. He kind of just felt so central to the whole thing that I just couldn't like logic it out of how they would move on. I was surprised about Rick Flag, just because it always feels like, even in the last movie, it was like, well, we need some stand-in for like, authority. And what's funny in this movie is that Rick Flag essentially, like, it almost turns him into, I'm not going to say a villain, but he becomes an anti-hero. I feel like there's an argument to be made that towards the last like 10 minutes of screen time, he has more in common with like Harley Quinn and Bloodsport than he does with like the US government at that point.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like that's it happens really fast. It's supernatural, even if it's predictable, and it's super enjoyable. Like that was just great for
100%.
me.
Yep.
I think Brian, that's interesting you said that, because the first thing I thought of was like, I wouldn't even consider him an anti-hero I see what you're saying, but this was my thought.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider him an anti-hero. It's just like his eyes were revealed, which made it more relatable to be a villain, because the villains are like, shit is not as sweet as you think it is.
Right.
Everything is not truth, justice, in the American way. And they've always been like that. Fuck the system. We rebel against it. Everybody wants to see us down.
That's a good point.
And Rick was like, I've served this country, did everything that I was supposed to, and it still let me down. And it was like all his eyes were just revealed. And that's something. And it says something about WB just being able to get the villains and Suicide Squad right, but maybe not necessarily everything else. But that just goes into the deeper, darker criminal.
No, you're right, because technically what he did was heroic. Like that I'm reflecting, it was heroic. It was just who was it heroic for? It was for the team and the people rather than the government. So you've changed my mind. You're right.
Yeah. But no, you're right. The casting was perfect, and I think the way that these characters really dove into it was really awesome. Just to see them play those out as well. And I think the time and energy they invested into becoming these characters, I think, was something really cool too. It was just fantastic to see. The voice acting for King Shark in Stallone, holy shit! I did not expect that at all.
The silliest shit ever, but also crucial to the film. Without King Shark, turns out to be the heart. Well, it's interesting because a lot of different people play the heart of the film. King Shark is this innocent portion of it where he's just literally a monster being told what to do and where to go. But you have Ratcatcher, who's a different part of the heart of this, and then you have Bloodsport, who's a different part of the heart, and even Peacemaker, to an extent, is a different part of what made the movie special. I'm not gonna say he was the heart of this shit because that's pushing it.
I feel like Ratcatcher 2, if we're being specific.
Yes,
I feel like to me, she was the heart of the film because she was really driving everyone to be like, no, you're not so bad. You aren't so bad. This isn't as bad as you think it is. And it's even with rats aren't that bad. Always trying to show the rosier parts of all of these things. That's what I don't know. That's what connected with me. Bloodsport felt very much like this cynical, logical person of I'm gonna get out of here because there's a giant starfish attacking a city. I'm gonna leave. What's wrong with y'all,
Brian? That's interesting to me because I view it the opposite way. For me, Bloodsport was the heart because of the conversation he had with his daughter at the beginning. That entire dialogue that they had, he was like, I told you I want shit. I told you I have nothing to offer you. And she's like, I just want you to care about me and love me, and you're an embarrassment. That was the thing that triggered him to, outside of, obviously Amanda Waller twisting her arm, his arm, and the court's arm. But these were important. That's what to me was okay, he's doing this for a reason. He views Ratcatcher as his daughter. He says it early. You remind me of my daughter. So then from that point on, it felt like everything he did was based off of that. Yeah. That emotion.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I think is really special about this is I think that it's the way that James Gunn played with the idea of what defines a villain.
Right.
And I think he played with that notion throughout this entire story. And Brian, to even your point of Ratcatcher really, she did something wrong, but would we call her a villain? Robbing a bank is obviously wrong. But would you call her a villain? I don't know if I would. She came to the country with nothing, so she tried to, you know what I mean? She was a victim of circumstance to a certain extent. Yeah. But then you take people who think that they're heroic and think that they're doing things for the greater good, and the examples of Peacemaker and even Amanda Waller of people who are they're guided by higher purpose. They are more villainous than the people who we would point to and say those are villains.
Good point.
And I think that is the nuance that James Gunn was able to do with this in writing and directing, because he kept the story simple so he could play these things out and he didn't get lost in.
That's a good point.
There's too much shit for me to keep track of. I can focus on this character development 100%.
And I'll chime in here because I think you bring up a good point that he did keep the main story simple so that he could play with these macro themes, because I started this film being oh, this is just going to be a gore fest of people being ripped apart.
Yeah.
And then it ended with, is the Suicide Squad a critique on United States geopolitical policy since 1960s?
Right.
Maybe. Like, I was kind of.
Is it just a critique on the American government in general?
Yeah.
Like, is it just a critique on the American government in general? I mean, Peacemaker's main policy is liberty at any cost.
Even if it means even if it means women and children.
Even if it means women and children. What the fuck?
Okay. Yes to all. I need to say this before I forget it. So there's a moment where they're getting ready to break out Harley Quinn, or like they think they need to. And like Bloodsport's like, it's everybody in position, and they like do all the shots of where everybody's at. And you hear the voice dialogue from John Cena, like, yes, I have a target in view. And then you see the target in view. It is like a woman moving papers around who is clearly not a soldier, by the way. Like, she is clearly like working in an office, definitely not a combatant. And that's why
Rick Flag,
my gosh.
Rick Flag looked at the camera. He kind of looked at the wall. He was like, I have the person in sight. And Rick was kind of like, huh? What? Like, who is it?
What? And I just feel like that encapsulated Peacemaker, like just those 3 seconds, like that encapsulates the character and how awful he is, and it made me laugh because it was so horrible.
100%.
And they balanced everybody well. Like Peacemaker didn't take over the movie. There was not one person that completely just took over the movie. Even Harley Quinn. I'm going to refer. I know that they actors and actresses and people who have names. I'm going to refer to the characters they are in the thing.
Fine. Margot Robbie, I got you.
Yeah, Margot Robbie. But Harley Quinn. Harley is Harley, and she can steal a show. We know Margot Robbie can act her ass off and be Harley all day long. To balance Harley in a world where technically she has hopped between 3 different versions of what the DC universe exists as.
Oh man,
yes.
Because you're talking about the first Suicide Squad, you're talking about the emancipation of Harley Quinn, and now you're talking about this Suicide Squad and halfway. No. Yeah, that's right. So you get all of these different versions of Harley Quinn, and her stories being told in all these different ways. But this one kind of just felt like she was justified.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if we're ready to have this conversation,
we're ready to have this conversation.
This movie develops Harley Quinn as a character, I feel like, more in quite a bit. Like, it just shows you how far she's come just in 3 movies, and I feel like the Birds of Prey movie did a lot to get her here. Like, it feels like she crawled in Suicide Squad to get a good brisk run to just straight out sprinting in the Suicide Squad, of how enjoyable she was and how she turned everything upside down. I mean, you're looking at when she's a prisoner and they're like, I have to marry you because of XYZ. The Corto Maltese dictator's like, I have to marry you. And she's like, wait a minute, I've seen this before. I'm going to shoot you. Just done. Like, no hesitation, out of the blue. I enjoyed that because she's like, yeah, I've seen red flags before. And I love that she's taking that logic to the detached, like, action area of her brain of like, whoa, you don't have to kill them, but like, right, like, and that's the Harley Quinn that's the version I enjoy of, like, she's able to make these decisions on her own, and you see how far she's come from just being like Joker's sidekick.
Yeah, for sure. I
mean, and it's a reminder that Harley is not just some nutso whack job just going off and killing people. She's a doctor first. That's the core of Harley Quinn, was that she was a doctor. She was Joker's doctor. He turned her, but she was always still smart. So you finally get this film where she's not just going to fall for the same traps. She's not going to be somebody's meat piece. Like, it's more than that. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean by the balance. You were able to get that full story and experience while still getting to learn 17,000 other new characters at once.
For sure, 100%.
And also realizing that the bad person is really the government. It's the Corto Maltese government. It's the American government. It was not the big bad villains that got superpowers. It was because they're just being used like everybody else,
right?
And you know what I mean, like, but that's just a different topic for a different day.
No, I agree, and I don't know, I feel like Harley Quinn had the most solo screen time, so I do feel like there's an argument here to be made, like, there was a lot of Harley Quinn, but at the same time,
she's the money maker.
That's the character you do it with. I mean, I can't see any of these other characters holding it. And I also think it's a testament to Margot Robbie. She filmed this immediately after filming Birds of Prey too. So like she was Harley Quinn for like almost a year,
She was tired.
That's exhausting.
That
That
is
sounds
exhausting.
exhausting to me. So just shout out to Margot Robbie. Like, I've enjoyed every Harley Quinn performance, and this did not disappoint.
And I think the other thing to this credit is, and I hate to go back to, like, I keep bringing up the director. James Gunn made the assumption that we knew what the fuck was going on.
Yes.
Like, he made the assumption that we didn't need a reminder into who Harley Quinn was.
He trusted us.
We didn't need to rehash all that other bullshit. He knew what we knew, and basically said, great, they know it, well, let's move on. And he didn't feel like he needed to spend time on it. And I think that's to transition into another part of this movie that I really liked is the choices he made over the course of the movie. We've talked extensively about the story, so I don't feel like we have to bring that up again. But I will just say the cinematography and the angles of shots and the choices he made
spectacular.
With that.
They were really good.
Fucking fight scene between
really
Rick
good.
Flag and
the helmet
Peacemaker in a reflection of a helmet is fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That looked so cool. It was so well done. It made it feel as an audience like something is off here, that it made me uncomfortable. And it was just really well done. The title cards, which felt like we don't have to do this with plain text like Marvel did. We can do something a little bit more creative and have it built into the background. Where they saw where it said Jotunheim and it was pieces of rubble. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
All of those shots are gorgeous. And
Operation Harley too. That blew me away.
Yeah.
That transition was magnanimous.
All of this was well done.
And it's this. So, and Doug mentioned, as far as shots, I don't want to forget the one he really liked when the movie kicked off and it showed from the puddle, and he was like, "Is this a reflection?"
Yeah,
and
that was character baddie. Yes,
yeah, it was crazy but it set the tone for the movie in a way. Like it was gonna let you know, like the unexpected is unexpected. But how my kudos goes to the director, James Gunn, because and the entire team that puts this together, because you can't give it to one person, but somebody's got to have the vision. So the director was able to bring a alien starfish to life, and make it a realistic threat, a pink and blue alien starfish. Anybody else would have toned down those hues, those colors, whatever else, in order to make it realistic. All he did was bring this character to life and was like, now what? Like, bitch, what? Like, it's starfish is going to take over the city. So, like, and I think that's impressive because now you can really do whatever you want to. The idea of Polka Dot Man having an interdimensional virus and you feel bad for him and you forget that he's fucking Polka Dot Man.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't feel bad. I didn't feel bad for him. I wasn't like, that's a weak power. Like, they made it where it was like, oh my God, like this guy's kind of a badass.
Yeah, 100%. Yes. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And again, I had written that off when we first learned that he was going to be a central piece. I was like, who gives a shit? Like, who gives a shit that a man that can throw polka dots is going to be any type of threat whatsoever? And his storyline was fucking deep and compelling too.
It was.
And I thought that it was genius to not just say like, oh, it's my mom that motivates me but to fucking put her there.
To put this random lady.
Yes.
This random lady is in this movie, and it's like, you can't do that. And there's like, wait a minute. Yes, the fuck you can.
Yeah.
100%.
And as like a huge visual processor, like one of the reasons I love movies, that was super helpful for me. It was like, oh, if that's what you saw all the time, no wonder you'd be like messed up, or no wonder you wouldn't be able to balance yourself out because you see your mom who you hate everywhere. Like, I love that.
Yeah. So that's my second one, is that to James Gunn's credit and the director of cinematography, his credit. And I just did a quick look of him, and he was involved in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, of course he was.
2, Maleficent 2, Mistress of Evil. He did the first Golden Compass movie. Like, he did a lot of different things.
Wow.
So he's got some experience and some chops, and man, it really shows here, because I thought the way the stuff was framed and looked at, I just thought it was just so well done, just top to bottom. And that's the thing that I loved about this, is that this movie's story didn't keep moving. Not just did that keep moving, and not did the actors do a great job. It's just well shot and well framed and well thought out.
I mean, and as someone that that makes really dumb videos on TikTok, like I do 30-second videos. the amount of time and practice and effort that it probably took to like get that all in one shot in the reflection, it must have been way too long. Like it must have been a very long time for them to stay in frame, stay in focus, stay within the reflection of the helmet. I don't want to know how many times they had to redo that.
Brian, I removed the picture.
Yeah, I know.
Look,
I appreciate it, but in any
I'll
case,
add a banner right back in. Don't you fucking threaten me with a good time. You were like, you take away my pictures, I'll just put text in there.
In any case, that reflective piece that must have taken them forever. It was totally worth it, and I loved it.
Yeah, I feel like Marvel cannot touch DC, and when it comes to this rated R shit, because Marvel will never. Hold on now. Hold on. Let me think. I'm thinking live in real time, y'all. So bear with me.
No,
I'm thinking back to Punisher, Daredevil, Luke Cage. Because those were TVMA.
Yes.
I'm thinking the Blade, old school Blade doesn't count. I'm not those old school Marvel movies.
Are you talking like current, like starting in 2008?
Starting with whenever DC decided to start their first rated R.
Okay.
Which I'm gonna acquaint to Suicide Squad with David Ayer. I felt like that was the first rated R, maybe DC movie, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Don't quote me on that. But the first Suicide Squad movie was not that bad. I hate to break it to y'all. I still like it, and I'll rewatch it.
It was fine. It wasn't perfect, but it was fine. It's
rewatchable for me.
Yes. So there's some good moments. Yes.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So that is a rated R movie. Batman versus Superman, the uncut version, I think, is rated R. Zack Snyder's version. No. Uncut version is not rated R. Zack Snyder's cut is rated R. And then there's another DC. Marvel can't do this. Marvel would never touch this. Joker. The Joker movie is rated R.
Yes.
So DC decided to go dark. They're dark as hell. And is it sad? Yes, because DC should be more of a beacon, but god damn it. Marvel, I don't think that they could touch them. It's a bold statement, but I don't think that Marvel would even make the attempt.
I guess I disagree, mainly because I feel like Marvel has had so much success with their current like formula and algorithm that they don't feel like they need to, right? They'd have to put energy and resources into a possible loss when they could just do Captain Marvel 2 or whatever, the next Eternals. Like they know that formula and they know how to keep hitting it and making money. I think now that they've acquired all the Fox properties, I feel like they have some leeway to be like, oh, like you haven't heard of this character and it was like Deadpool. I absolutely believe Deadpool 3 will come out. It will be rated R and it'll have all the Disney iconography on it.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they put their effort to it, they could do it well. I do agree with you though, Marcus, that I feel like DC beat them to the punch and they ate their lunch. Like they've done it multiple times here with like Wonder Woman and Joker and now the Suicide Squad. I mean, those are three films. I'm including Wonder Woman, just to clarify, that was the first female-led superhero film, since Iron Man. Like starting with Iron Man in 2008, that was the first one to just be completely helmed lead actress with a woman. And DC beat Marvel to the punch, and they had like a dozen movies out at that point. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I do agree with you. DC beat them to the punch, and they're clearly excelling here.
And the reason I think that they won't win is because the reason why I think DC has that shit in the bag is because if Marvel makes the attempt at it on the big screen, not the TV shows, right? Marvel makes the attempt at it on the big screen like this. Do people want that? Like what is the reaction going to be? Because you haven't been given that for so long. I'm not going to say it's impossible because Disney is Disney, Marvel is Marvel, and that conglomerate is like ridiculous. Yeah. But like DC just has the market cornered for like, we're going to tell the darker stories and let you know your heroes and your villains. Everybody's fucked up here. Now what?
Yeah.
And I think first off, to clarify your point, Marcus, about the first one.
Yes.
I mean, technically, if you want to get super technical on what like a DC property is that got its rated R titling,
Yeah.
technically DC and Warner Brothers was ahead of everybody because V for Vendetta came out in 2006, and that
Okay.
was owned by DC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Yes,
a
yes,
rated
yes.
R movie.
And that was a
I
good
mean-
movie. They killed that.
And also, I would like to point out that the David Ayer Suicide Squad is not rated R. It's
What is it?
It's PG-13.
Oh, that's a dark ass PG-13.
Right.
They definitely hit the borderline there. With
They
the
were
PG-13.
just on the edge. And to be honest,
Squishy.
knowing how the MPAA works, they
Yeah.
probably were like, well, it's a Warner Brothers picture. We'll give them a pass on like these three things.
This is a good time to plug. If you haven't watched this film, not yet rated, it's a documentary on the
You should
MPAA.
absolutely
Go
watch
watch
it.
that.
It's
Please.
a shit show. So I here to chime in and give everybody like my 2 cents on this particular.
Doug, what's your
Dude,
2
so-
cents?
yeah,
I
what's
want
your
to
2 cents?
know.
Matter of fact, I want 3.
Well,
wow.
here's 3 for you. I think, Marcus, that to be honest with you, I think both of you are right. And I know that's kind of a cop out. I think that DC has been able to do this
Shall
in a
we
way
share
in
the
which
gold?
I think DC's been able to do this in a way in which others haven't. They've been
Mhm.
willing to let their darker characters go there.
Yeah.
And I think though that's because Warner Brothers has never tried to sell itself as the family business.
Yeah, that's fair.
In the business of family.
That's
Disney
fair.
has always, since it even started,
Yes.
has been built around we build stories for families.
It's true.
Which is
Marvel-
emblematic of our Jungle Cruise review, by the way. One of the things
Right.
we said, we're like, this is a Disney film, which is totally
Classic.
synonymous with family.
Right.
Yeah.
And notice there's violence in that, but it's never excessive.
I mean,
It's
no
never
blood.
gory.
Nobody
I mean,
bleeds.
somebody's getting punched in the face, but it's like they punch in the face, they fall
Didn't
down,
she
then they
say
go to
that?
the next sign.
He got
scene.
stabbed, and she
Yeah.
was like, "There's no blood.
Yeah,
Why is there
like
no blood?"
explicitly,
Right.
like
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
no blood.
Right. And so I think that
Like,
that's
what the
like
fuck?
I think that's to the credit, like, and I think that that's just, it's two competing styles of those type of heroes. To be honest with you, as you read DC comics versus Marvel comics,
They are
even
fucked up.
lately, the Marvel comics have started to get a little lighter as well, and not being super like violent or in your face like thematically, but you can always go back to DC and you can get that really dark, edgy. I mean, Joker is wearing a face on top of his face
He was.
in a
Yeah.
recent production line of their
was.
comic books, and it's hard for us to sit here and be like, wow, I can't believe DC's winning this on the screen too. They're doing it there.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just because that's the theme of their characters that they're building out. I think it's studios being willing to take that risk and what people have come to expect. And I don't think anyone has come to expect Marvel to be like, you know what I want to see? I want to see Captain America kneecap some Nazis, and I don't want him to cut away. I want to see those fucking bones coming out. I want him to misery some Nazis like right there on the screen. I want to see Chris Evans take it down. a
Hey,
bit.
hey.
Sorry.
Let's really end up down a rabbit hole. Come
I
back
feel
to
like
it.
I went to a
Is
Come-
anybody
place.
else? Is
come
anybody
back
else
to it.
sweating?
No, it's just you. And calm down.
I mean, there's a reason I ran to get the LaCroix before the show
Yeah.
started.
But that's-
Spicy guy.
There's no one calling for that.
Yeah.
But if we tried to say, "Oh man, I want to see a Suicide Squad," but I'd rather there not be blood.
Well-
like there's just, I think there's supply. I think it's a demand issue and a call for demand of
Well,
certain things versus not.
I feel like this is also a good time for me to bring up. So, like, I was raving about this movie. I watched it Friday night. I was raving about it. I went to a get together this past Sunday, and I was talking about this with my sister-in-law, and she was like, I couldn't. I didn't. This movie was
Too much?
difficult. John Cena just took me out of it, and like, I was like,
Was it the tidy whities?
It probably.
I don't know. We didn't get into it. There were children around, so you can't really talk about this movie with children around a whole ton. But and then I ran into someone online, someone I know, who was like, "Yeah, this didn't work for me, and it was too gory." And I also need to remember, like, I am very desensitized to violence. I don't know if it was all the terrible things that were very fully in focus in my childhood. We don't need to recap all those national
We're not
events.
therapists, Brian. Save it.
But like that stuff doesn't phase me. So like I absolutely was like, well, that's hilarious. That guy got cut in half because there's a giant shark. Like that's funny. Like
Ain't that
that's
fucked up though?
I mean,
Yeah.
That's
I feel like-
that's fucked up.
it is, but I laughed I mean,
Right.
but I'm,
I
you know,
did
like,
too.
well, my point being, like, I feel like your mileage varies so much with
sure.
this stuff
Yeah.
that, like, the broad appeal stuff is so hard to get, but clearly there's an audience for this. It's critically acclaimed, and aside from those two people, those are the exception that prove the rule that, like, anyone else I've talked to about the Suicide Squad, people liked it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, and to your
Yeah.
point, Brian, I mean, this movie back a couple weeks ago came out and it was at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not
That's
that that's a great
wild
metric for this. It's still at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes as we speak now. Like, so it's still like crushing it when it comes to fan reviews. And maybe that's your point, Brian. Like, you're probably not uncommon in that sensitization stuff. Maybe that just goes to show where the trend of people is going.
So now does this mean that we're about to get a whole universe or every superhero movie that follows it? Okay, because here's my fear. Warner Brothers found something that worked. Now they are going to do that 10 times over. So, like, because this James Gunn movie worked, and maybe it's not, and because Joker worked, and the biggest movies that worked for them were rated R and dark as fuck, does this mean that we're going to get an entire universe where all the movies that follow after this are dark? Does Shazam get darker? Does Black Adam get darker? Like, because at first they were saying Zack Snyder's cut was too damn dark, and you get this weak ass Justice League version. But now dark is okay when it's James Gunn and he's in the 2-hour 12 mark.
I feel like this is me shooting from the hip, but I feel like the main difference is, like, Zack Snyder, right? And we talked about this on our the Snyder Cut podcast review.
Yes.
That, right, he made these, like, mythic 17th century paintings and brought them to life with our superheroes of our time period.
Oh, for sure.
James Gunn, it just kind of felt like he turned all the neon colors on. Like, he turned on the neon filter. He gave everybody a joke. He gave everybody a gore thing to do, whether it was eat somebody, shoot somebody, hit somebody with a hammer, Harley. Yeah. And then they just went. Like, I feel like that's kind of the difference, is, like, the Suicide Squad was trying to be cheeky and warm in parts where you're, like, endeared to people. I feel like they did that with Harley Quinn. And I feel like they did it with Bloodsport and Ratcatcher too. Even like Stallone, like, even King Shark, you felt feelings.
Oh, I felt bad when the jellyfishes ate him.
You're right. The entire jellyfish sequence, like, you felt things, like you felt that affection, whereas the Snyder Cut was like, these are gods and they're gonna punch each other as hard as they can, and we're gonna learn that being a hero isn't all it's cracked up to be. And there is space for that. I just don't. I think that the direction the Suicide Squad went,
look at him, he's gonna walk out,
is not there. That's just where I'm at. I just feel like it was more palatable to some people. So he took off his hat. Oh, I'm gonna have it now.
You just Brian.
First of all, the Snyder Cut.
Hold on. Let me make my point before you come in and talk about the Snyder Cut. Let me just make mine, because I want to hear what you have to say about it.
I do too.
But I want to get this in here to keep it neighborhood adjacent. Here's where I'm at with the presence of violence in movies.
Mr. 3000 my ass.
I think ooh. I think, God damn it. I think that if it is doable, and I think if it fits within the character, and I think if it fits within the plot, I don't tend to have an issue with it. I think that for many of these characters, it fit into who they were. It fit into the actions that they took. It fit into a lot of this. I do think, though, the reason why I don't think that WB will respond this way, because even if, and I maybe I don't know, I'm going to make some assumptions that people have kind of, I'm going to make some assumptions. Who's going to hold us accountable?
Who's going to hold us? Who the fuck is going to say something? That's my problem. Here's my thing. Okay. Who's going to say something to us? Okay, because like we are an independent podcast. Can't nobody hold us to shit. That's like, we say what we want to. We ain't gonna pull no punches. And quite frankly, WB, I don't have as much faith in y'all as they do. Let's be honest.
Well, and I was making an assumption that even if the studio calls for it, no director who wants to keep their job and keep making movies is going to jam shit in there if it doesn't fit to the story.
Are you
You know what I
sure?
mean? I think so. I mean, I think most of the directors that we all have respect for, so maybe you take Joss Whedon and you put him over here,
Well,
and
not,
maybe all
not
the other directors we have respect for, I don't think they're going to just jam excessive gore in there just to have it in there. I think
no.
they'll say if it fits and it makes sense, we'll feature it. But I don't know if they'll be given carte blanche to do whatever they want to do. And maybe that's my naivete in it. My hope with it is that directors will have some integrity of their story where they won't want to just put it in there to put it in there.
I don't think it's the directors that I'm worried about. My
Fair.
thing is money hungry WB.
That's fair.
You
Well,
see
that's
something
fair,
that
yeah.
you see something that works, and to Brian's point about the Snyder Cut,
Go ahead.
to me the Snyder Cut is always looks different for me because it's gods trying to be human.
Yes.
It's people with godlike powers trying to be human, and Marvel is just humans. Like it's people with powers, just peeing people. It's a little bit. It's different, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it always feels different when Zach painted his picture.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be dark and traumatic because Diana is the only one of her kind that is out there.
Yes.
Bruce is an orphan that is sick and traumatized. Clark is the only one of his kind, the most powerful man on earth. The Flash is a regular corny dude with the ability to break. The Cyborg has all. So you have these people with all of this burden and shit like that. It's going to be dark. It's meant to be dark, like yes, but it also is meant to have lighthearted moments. Why are you picking and choosing? I guess this is why I'm you pick and choose when it's okay to be dark and when it's not.
Oh, sure. I see your point.
When James Gunn comes in and kills all of these main characters, which I told Doug, when he killed Captain Boomerang and Rick Flag, it kind of felt like not a deliberate one, but it kind of felt like a fuck you to the previous Ayer cut. Because it's like those were the only things that felt attached. Those were the only things that linked the two together, right? Yeah. And so it felt like a fuck you. You told Zack Snyder the shit was too dark. You want to make it lighter. He make it lighter. You make it this comedic thing. It doesn't make sense. So why is this one okay and the other one's not?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a fair point. And I think that's a fair point. It's the and I see now what you're saying. It's this you're concerned about the studio picking and choosing their excuse.
Any good director, Joker's director, the guy who directed Joker, James Gunn, directors are going to be good at their job because WB's just not going to hire anybody just to kind of come in there and just shit on these characters like that because the backlash is too high, especially right now when we live in the world of superhero movies.
Yeah.
WB, on the other hand, could see that, hey, James Gunn did a gory DC film and it worked and it was great in 2 hours and 12 minutes. That doesn't mean every single story can be told like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just worried that the stories that they tell from now on, these are the same people that didn't know Krypton blew up after watching it for 30 minutes.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's horrifying.
Well, now that I fully understand what you're saying, Marcus, I also feel like it's very possible WB takes the wrong lessons from this, right? Like, it's like, oh, you like the gore and the like the viscera and the grossness and John Cena jokes. Okay, that's what you. And it's like, no. It's a good story about trying to do the right thing, even if you don't always feel like a good person all the time. Like that's the crux of the story,
and it worked for this story,
right?
Yeah.
Right. And that's the soul of it. And I feel like they're not going to learn that lesson that it was a very good, it was a good story, not like King Shark ripping people apart.
And to be fair to the critique on the other side of this with Marvel will never have the courage to take that risk.
Oh man.
And that's what I was trying to say.
To Brian's point of then they have to invest in PR, they have to invest in people to produce it. They have to find a director that they trust to be able to do that, to take that risk and that leap with. And I think the only reason why that they will take that risk with Ryan Reynolds and with Deadpool 3 is he's demonstrated he can crush it.
He can
exactly.
And people expect that already.
And I think if you can't demonstrate that you can do it, they're going to be like, nope, sorry, this is the line. Don't cross it.
Yes.
I agree.
I think for anybody who's listening or watching who wants to hear watch a movie that covers the topic of like the presence of gore in a movie, there is a 2007 remake of an Austrian movie called Funny Games starring Naomi Watts and Tim Roth. and it is a psychological thriller. And let me give you the gist.
Where is this going?
I know it's kind of crazy.
No, I'm here
I'm
for it.
I'm here for the ride, Douglas.
The gist of this is basically these two people show up and they take this family hostage and they proceed to just sort of torture them over the course of an hour and a half to an hour and 40 minutes. However, you never ever see the actions that the villains or the antagonists take on the people that they are doing this to. You only hear it in sounds. You see people's reactions.
Imagination doing half the job.
Exactly.
Got
But
it.
there's
Got
a
it.
very key moment that I don't want to spoil for people, where this point of the presence of like gore and excessive violence in a feature is really brought to the forefront, and he plays with. So check that out if you're not. It's a little tough because I don't think me now could watch this because it deals with family stuff. But me in college thought this was like fucking brilliant. Was this point he made? So worth a watch for sure.
Absolutely.
I like it, dude.
Yeah. Other thoughts about this movie? Things you liked? We've talked about a lot, but other things maybe that y'all like that are kind of waiting in the wings for?
My favorite scene was between Bloodshot and Peacemaker going at it. And the setup of, first of all, them going at it and seeing who's the better killer.
Yes.
I also, let's put a pin in that. Let's talk about Bloodsport's suit.
Yeah, that was really well done.
What I love the most about it, there was no explanation as to why his suit could do what it did.
You just accepted it.
You just accepted and trusted, and you got caught up in the fact that, wow, this guy can make a weapon out of any part of his suit.
Right. Yeah.
And it just made fucking sense. So them going back and forth between Peacemaker, which shout out to John Cena, he played the role well. And I absolutely understand why he got casted.
Yes.
I've never doubted his acting abilities, but John Cena played the role of Peacemaker very well, even when it got to the emotional part, because when Peacemaker had to kill Rick Flag, he gave him and kept the respect. Please, Colonel, hand over the thing. I don't want to do this. Like, he had the utmost respect for him. And so I did like the scene of them going back and forth, killing people in the camp, and then the setup of those are all my soldiers, and this was the freedom fighter thing. And the villains also being like, you know what? Yeah, fuck the government. We support freedom fighters. This makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think something else that I didn't realize until I had reflected on it was that I don't trust Amanda Waller, and she was secretly the villain the entire time, because if you maybe very clearly at the end she's the bad guy, right? Excuse me.
She was spitting. Did you see that, Brian? Did you see when Viola Davis was acting and she was like, "God damn it, Bloodsport!" She was like, Viola Davis.
She was into it. No, and she was fantastic. But when she communicates that Rick Flag has been captured, she doesn't tell them by who or like that it's a rebel hideout. And so she absolutely assumes that the A team is going to go in there and wreck stuff, which they absolutely do. And Rick Flag's like, no, like, these are our people. And I feel like Amanda Waller just straight up wanting that power and control for the U.S. government, so the rebel freedom fighters didn't actually get to take over the government. So I found that very satisfying at the end, thinking back on it, that they did like take over the government. They were able to overthrow folks even against Waller's plans.
And shout out to fucking Rick Flag for probably the most poignant and powerful line of the entire movie.
Yeah.
Peacemaker. What a fucking joke. Like, and just dies. Like, that is such a great moment. The way
that was fantastic.
That whole culmination of that. And Marcus's reaction when he got stabbed in the chest, Marcus leans over to me. He goes, "Oh no, he did not!" Like, he was like, because
here was what got me.
I couldn't believe it.
What got me was I was not expecting Rick Flag to die. I don't know why, but I was not expecting. But thinking back on it, Doug was right. He was a lot more heroic in this movie. What got me was the Mortal Kombat zoom into the heart, because they were showing he died. This isn't like he's coming back. No. They showed that he's fucking dead, and that's what got me. I was like, I was like, James Gunn really, he didn't do the same gore over and over again. He really like spread that shit out throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, he didn't want it to become I think, and that's the other thing to kind of go back to the gore for a minute. He didn't want the gore to become a nuisance.
Yeah.
He didn't want it to be one of those things where it was like, yeah, it was violent, but Jesus, it got annoying after a while. He kept it so fresh of new ways for people to like explode or to die. And you could even see it in that scene where they're running through the jungle, killing off freedom fighters, because Bloodsport and Peacemaker are finding new ways to kill people and using every weapon. And you can tell it's crazy because Bloodsport doesn't shoot a guy. He shoots the electric thing that falls into the water that kills the guy. I mean, it's this idea of like, I can keep this moving without it getting too tiresome and sluggish, which I thought was really well done.
That was brutal.
For sure.
Two things that kind of stuck out to me that I don't know how I felt about.
Yeah.
The one being and I got to remember the second one. The first one, though, the ongoing joke about the javelin. Okay. I didn't really understand why that carried on for so long.
Oh,
Does
really?
That make sense? Like, I don't know if it was meant for the starfish thing or if that was the setup, or was it the set? Was that the?
That's how I interpreted it. That basically Harley Quinn and her state was basically like, what do I do with this javelin? And then here's a giant starfish with a very, very pokeable eye, is what I will say. And she's like, this is it. And like, I don't know, that worked for me. It reminded me of like the Rocket Raccoon stealing people's different apparatuses of like legs and eyeballs and stuff like that. It kind of had that vibe to me about it.
I guess I looked at it a little differently too, of like this idea that like Harley Quinn has never been given anything or entrusted with anything up until this moment. So like the fact that somebody on their deathbed said, here, I want you to use my javelin, for her and where her character was at, was a very big moment.
Yeah.
To have someone say, here's this
you're
thing
right.
mine. No one else has given me anything or trusted me with anything. And so I've got to make sure I use this for the right reason. And
Okay. Doug, that's a great observation.
That's fair. It just felt like the javelin, for me, it kept coming up, and I was expecting this big moment for it to be like, he told me only person that could hold it was, and there was never an answer. It was just her poking the shit out of damn starfish. So like, that was why I don't think that it worked for me. I can't remember my second point, but if I can remember it, I'll try to.
No, that's totally.
I can jump in. One of the things that I like reflected on, and I was like, maybe that wasn't the best for me, was Corto Maltese is a fictional place. In case people don't know, this is not a real place.
I did not know that.
Okay, well, it's not real. And one of the things I reflected on,
befuddled,
like at the end of the movie, I was like, man, there was like a lot of people of color that just straight up like died. So that makes me uncomfortable. At the same time, I also understand, though, it's a fake place, but like clearly a stand-in for another nation. So I was like, maybe that
didn't go unnoticed in the theater either.
Handled better, but like at the same time that I'm doing like all these like mental gymnastics of like, well, but Idris Elba, he's a person of color, and he's on. Oh no, he's not a hero though. Like it made me like it. I thought too hard about it. I will absolutely own this. I thought a little too hard about it, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about it, but I liked it overall. Like that was my only critique of it. Of just like maybe we could have thought about that a little bit more. But that's where I'm at.
The thing that threw me off about the army, and I think I told Doug, I said this army
in the theater
is very diverse. You had somebody with dreads. You had the Asian. You had people who were Asian Pacific Islander. You had a white guy, but they didn't look like they were from Corto Maltese. They just look like random people that they put in uniforms and slap the flag on. And even Doug made a good point when they were in the bar. He said, "Why are they playing American music? Like, why do they play American?"
I made this observation. I was like, "This is I kind of said it sort of like sarcastically, but I was like, why the fuck would they play in a Spanish strip club American music?
Yeah,
like wouldn't." And maybe this is me being pro sex worker. Of like, if I'm going to take my clothes off, I'm going to listen to the music I want to listen to, not some other shit.
Man, so I was just listening to Marcus Destin until then while you take your clothes off.
Okay. Wait until after the podcast.
Oh, sign up for the OnlyFans Patreon. It's about to get
sign up for
freaky.
the new films in black and white
It's
OnlyFans.
about to get nasty in here. It's about to get extra white in here.
Yeah. You are not prepared. You are not prepared.
I am taking a step back.
You are not prepared for the level of white that is about to be unleashed.
Yeah. White Mamba.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, white
All right,
dynamite.
White
White dynamite, everybody. That's what people call me.
Overall, I enjoyed this movie. I thought a little too hard about some aspects. Look, a giant starfish had his eye poked. That was the finale of this film. So.
No, I mean, you're right though. I did have that observation of like, this is just, it feels like a very Americanized idea of what a foreign country looks like.
100%. Yeah.
Also, where the fuck is Superman?
Marcus asking the hard-hitting questions here.
That's a fair point.
Honestly, it was the first thing I mentioned to Doug after the movie was over. You had a giant starfish attack a city. Where the fuck is Superman?
He was in the hospital because Bloodsport shot
That's
him.
what I said.
I thought that he got life because he did that. Superman was fine. It is fine now.
My headcanon was that he was still down for the count. And this is after, I mean, we don't know when this takes place, by the way. We're assuming it takes place after Birds of Prey and Justice League.
I mean,
he would still be dead.
Yeah, I mean,
yes. Before,
if it's Birds of Prey, I think Superman was dead.
If it's, I would need to double check the timeline.
Look at that.
Some timeline expert walk us through this. Also, it's possible if it's not, he was dead, and if he is back to life, he's probably hanging out with Lois, and he's like, nah, they got it.
I mean,
like if you're away from, if you died and you're away from the person you love, like
you horny.
Some starfish. I mean, some starfish shows up, and you are gonna be like, no. They got somebody covered in this. We don't need to worry about it. But yes, they are spending quality time together. Whatever quality time looks like in their relationship, whether they are. Jesus.
Can we just talk about for a second that James Gunn made me feel sorry for a starfish that like murdered an entire city, country, state.
Did you hear the last line? From the
He's like, I was fine floating in space.
And floating with the staring at the stars.
Stare at the stars the rest of my life, and then here he is, like super ticked off. Like, yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I'd destroy a city too.
Out of his eye.
Basically, he said, "I didn't ask to be here. You bought me here.
Yeah,
I did not ask. You wanted me to be here. I was fine. Everything was fine."
The other thing I want to say before I forget it, I feel like this movie and Invincible, they do a good job basically being like, oh, you want real life superheroes? Well, this is how messy it gets. And you're like, oh no, do I want this? And like all the Starro things are like messing up people's faces. Starro is like,
I love Starro. I love Starro because I vividly remember Justice League. I can't remember if it's Unlimited or not, but I think the episode is called "The Man Who Has Everything," and Starro takes over Superman's body.
Okay.
And basically like is doing whatever his bidding is and stuff like. And Batman and Wonder Woman, it's about Superman's birthday. Batman brings him this gift and finds Superman taken over by Starro. Okay. But it's about the internal thought process of like what they're thinking as Starro takes over their physical body.
Gotcha.
So that's the first thing I remember. And of course, one of the first Justice League covers is the Justice League fighting Starro.
Yes.
That was the first time I think that they're on the cover together. And it was that was part of the reason why I asked, like, where the fuck is Superman? You got this iconic character that you don't.
Right.
But I do want to give kudos that they didn't do a whole lot of mentioning additional outside characters and was able to carry this movie on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like and you again, actually had Batman and the other Suicide Squad.
I was just about to say.
And Joker, and he was in all of these scenes and connected the dot. But this one just did it on its own without explaining all of that.
Yep. And I think I mentioned this as I walked out. I think WB and DC Films, like their bread and butter is not building a universe. And I know that that's going to ruffle some feathers wherever we're at, but these standalones work. Like they work really, really well when you can just plop people down and be like, no. Like you're going to we trust you to understand this.
Yeah.
So here you go. You get
But-
two of them,
but
and
once
we're going to
again,
move
it's-
on and switch a different direction.
But
And I
it
think
feels like they're picking and choosing still to me because
that's fair.
like
That's
they
totally
have
fair.
Matt Reeves
agree.
Batman, and Matt Reeves Batman just got 2 more spinoffs. They got an Arkham spinoff today,
What?
and then they got a Jim Gordon or like Gotham spinoff.
Gotham
PD.
City Police
The
Department.
Gotham City, but then
Yeah.
they announced the Arkham one today. So like,
They
and then you
must-
have all of these other Batgirls, and so it's like,
Man,
which one? This is why it's frustrating.
That's fair.
Is like, are they connected or are they not? Are we waiting for Matt Reeves Batman to come out to be the, obviously we're waiting on the Flash because the Flash seems like it'll be the what's that other thing you used to shake and it erases the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like
Etch a sketch.
Etch-a-sketch. It'll be like Flash. Thank you. Flash will be the Etch-a-sketch for the universe, and they start over. So I don't know. That's why it's frustrating to me. But I'm off my soapbox now.
That's
No,
fair.
I think
fair.
you have a point though, Marcus, because I think it does get frustrating for fans who want to follow this, who are invested. And whereas Marvel movies are like Sokovia, you know what that means, you know what movie it was.
No need to touch
And in
it.
this, it was like, oh, Harley, you're back in jail again, and it's kind of ambiguous. We know she
Yeah.
wasn't in prison in the first Suicide Squad, but that could really refer to anything.
Mhm.
They didn't give it a name. They didn't refer to anything else. We
They
don't
said,
even know if this kind of acknowledges Suicide Squad, but not really.
And Birds of Prey, because she said he killed my dog in the monologue after she killed the priest. She was like,
Yeah.
you ran into a person who killed my dog.
Oh, good point.
So like the hyena
Okay.
from Birds of Prey. So
Yeah.
I was assuming,
Yeah.
which there's a lot of assuming, and you make your own understanding, which is great. This is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming this takes after Birds of Prey because she's got her own freedom. She
Yep.
still has the
I agree.
And the
property of no
agency to
one.
look out for
Yes.
herself.
Yes, right. So I'm assuming that's after that. But yes, Brian, you are absolutely correct.
You know, I get it being on the like I get it seeing both and like
Yeah.
really enjoying Marvel stuff, and then DC's like, I don't know, is it connected?
Is it?
And you're like, no, just tell me. I want to enjoy your product. Is it connected? Just
Please.
tell
Help me
me.
enjoy this, please.
For the
Like-
love of God.
I'm trying to give you my money.
Yes.
Take my money.
You know, like it's just I don't get why it's so hard for them.
Yeah.
But it worked. James Gunn did a good job of being like, yeah, there was stuff before, but we're just gonna focus on this
Again,
stuff.
you can if you want to dive into it and you know it, great. If not, I trust you to pick up on where things are
Yep.
at now.
And
think
it's also
that was
interesting.
well done.
His original. My last point is his original decisions on who he was originally going to kill, and at first he was going to, he teetered the line of killing Bloodsport, but then he said he was going to kill Ratcatcher too. Like that was in the original script, but he was like she had too much heart and she felt like she bought too much to the. She
Yeah,
was too
to the
important
team
that he
overall.
changed it. Yeah, he changed it at the last minute. So I think he changed it because Polka Dot Man was supposed to live, but I think and Ratcatcher 2 was supposed to die.
That movie has so many gruesome things happen in it that I feel like that was the right decision.
That was good.
That's
That would have
fair.
been hard. That would have been heartbreaking if she would have died.
That would have absolutely changed how I felt about that movie.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, that would have been hard to come back from, I think,
Mhm.
depending on when it happened. So this definitely tied it up in a neater bow
Yep.
Yeah.
at the end. I think
I
if
agree.
I think if
Taquito
anybody else
Waititi riding. What'd you call it? What'd you say, Drew?
I was riding Taquito Waititi was riding the dragon. Fresh off that dragon.
He was
He
the
was
heroin.
chasing that dragon.
He was
He was
the
chasing that
guy.
heroin dragon wherever he could find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you chase that dragon. You know what's up. Gentlemen, that's all that we have. I mean, we've kind of thoroughly dissected this. And
We
I think
talked about how much we enjoyed it. Yes, we did.
This,
Yeah,
look, I feel
basically.
very confident in saying, go watch this. We
Yeah.
recommend it. Go see it. It's a lot of fun.
It's better in theater.
Yeah.
If you can safely go to theaters, I do think that I wouldn't have enjoyed this at home as much, or I wouldn't have paid attention as much.
Yeah.
Um.
I am proud that we were able to save another theater, Marcus.
Yes. Yeah.
It's important to me
We
that
are
we're
doing
able to
our
do that.
We
I'm
are slowly
happy
but
to
surely
say-
doing our best.
That I enjoy local theaters, but I proudly enjoyed this in my home
Stay on.
Friday night, and I loved it. I could pause it. I enjoyed it 100%.
Okay. You don't think it would have made a difference?
Honestly, I don't know. I also feel like I don't know. I also like kind of go in the zone when I watch a movie at
okay.
home. Like I just kind of put my phone aside.
Yeah.
That's just how I do movies. Now, my wife, she has to be on her phone, otherwise she will fall asleep. So
Oh,
maybe that's the
that's fair.
conversation we should have if she comes on the podcast. Because like
Yeah.
Maggie
she
Red.
does.
Maggie,
Maggie, come on down. But no, I enjoy it. If you have HBO Max, this is a steal. This is wild.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, go watch it.
Just don't rewind.
And my comment was when Brittany pointed out that she found out today that it was on HBO Max at the same time. She's like, "Why'd you go to a theater?" And my excuse was, "We're out here trying to save theaters, Brittany. Like, just
we're next
you're picking fights
about that.
And you know what she said back? She goes, "You are doing it single-handedly." Like it was incredible. But we recommend you see this, whether it is on HBO Max or in theaters. Definitely give this a shot, gentlemen. We are at the top of time of this podcast where we come over to things that we have to plug. Marcus, what do you have to plug this week?
I just want to say thank you to everyone, Brian Roush specifically, for helping me get over that. No, I don't know that, but I do appreciate.
Happy to listen.
Thank you to everybody. Until then, now at the moment has over 1,000 streams. I believe it has 1,000. It has 1,092 streams at the moment, and so that's really, really big. This is the most any project we've done it independently as a label and as a brand, as the Noah Never Offended Always Humble brand. And I'm just grateful to be here. We're already working on the next music. We're working with Soul Tide to put out his release and everything like that. And stay tuned. Continue to trust me, and I thank you for everything that you know what I mean, for all the support you've given. So, follow __ the mantra. We're going to be doing some customer shout outs soon on the page. So everybody who has purchased some Noah gear, we're going to shout those people out right before we open up the new store. And we got some new gear on the way very soon. We know summer's coming to an end, but we're going to make sure you end summer on the right note with some Noah gear. So stay tuned, stay focused.
Love it.
And don't forget, follow the mantra. Never offended, always humble.
Fantastic. Brian, what do you have to plug this week?
Folks, check out thelovenerds.com. Like Marcus said, with summer, we're getting into the last few weeks of summer here. So if you need something good to cook, like those chicken wings, this is a good time to do it. Maybe you need that excuse to fire up that grill. Now is the time. I would absolutely recommend those honey sriracha wings. I could eat them right now. Also, if you're not following me on TikTok, please do at Rogue Roush on TikTok. We were live before we started our podcast tonight, and we were just clowning and goofing around, so you get a little bit more content from the podcast if you want, but those are live. They're not recorded anywhere, so it's a unique opportunity to see how we're doing this. So
it's true.
That's what I'm plugging tonight.
Okay. Fantastic, both of y'all.
3,000.
Just one more time.
Y'all are nice. Y'all are
3,000 right here. Gentlemen, the thing that I have to plug is this particular podcast. I have been all over the place today, emailing, contacting folks to get this podcast some more heat. I mean, we already come in pretty hot week in and week out, but we wanted to bring some more heat to y'all. So check out the podcast. If you are feeling so inclined, go over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/films in black and white, and
Films in black and white.
Sign up for our tier there so you can watch this lovely live stream week in and week out. Otherwise, just subscribe. If you already listen, tell your friends about us. Share the love, because we love sharing what we love with you.
I'm gonna give that a bump real quick, because the stuff that we talk about here, we're an independent podcast. Like this is how you get this type of content. You're not going to find it anywhere else that's going to have a big corporate sponsor. We're actually telling you the actual things we think, and for us to keep doing that, we need our Patreon supporters. So make sure to go check that out if that is something you can do to support us.
He's right.
Also, Brian, that is fire as hell. Good work.
Well, I don't want to say what I was going to say, because
say what you're going to say.
I bought the toothbrush that we promote at the beginning of the podcast.
You did?
I bought
Do you like it?
The Quibi. It's really good, actually. It has 30 seconds. It works in 30-second increments, and so like it'll tell you when to switch and transition to different parts of your mouth. Okay, it's really good. So
love that.
Yeah, support the ads. We don't support bullshit around here.
That's right. Gentlemen, we're now at the close of our podcast.
No,
we don't.
No, we don't.
We're now at the close of our podcast, and we have a 3-step process to success. Brian, would you care to give us that first step?
Yes, I would like to share with you all to read a book. Right now, my life is very busy. It's very hectic. There's a lot of change happening, and usually I read a lot more, but I'm not. So you know what I did? I got an audiobook, and I have a commute again. And so I'm listening to an audiobook, and I'm just chipping away at it, little bit of a time. And so my message today is even if you read for like 10 minutes, you're still reading. That's still important. Just keep it alive. Keep going, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes a day.
Respect, Jack.
And if I can boost audiobooks just real quick,
Okay,
they were
boost it.
not your mama's old audiobook that was on like a CD or that was on a tape that didn't have any like production value. There is like production value to these audiobooks. Like I am listening to a Star Wars audiobook right now, and they have laser sounds and droid noises and like music in the background, and it's like Jesus, this is
That's good.
Is that Alphabet Squadron?
No, this is Aftermath, the first book in the Aftermath series, and there's a ton of extra stuff in there that is just really well done. So just read an audiobook, totally counts. I'm going to cover the second step, which is to drink some water. Look, we are about to enter into what possibly is our third streak of 100-degree days, and if you think that I can make it through a 100-degree day without some water, you kidding. You got to make sure you hydrate yourself so that way you can you stay healthy, you stay happy, you keep your joints lubricated so they don't tighten up. You feel fuller. For those of you who are maybe trying to cut some lbs off the scale, water's always a great way to fill up. So just drink a glass of water.
Just drink a glass of water.
Fantastic vocals from a one Marcus J. Marcus, would you care to take us home with our third key to success?
I would love to. Listen, wash your ass. That's it. End of the podcast.
And that goes for you celebrities too.
Yeah, listen. Oh, thank you. Listen, Jake,
real quick.
Jake Gyllenhaal, Mila Kunis, everybody on the fucking That 70s Show apparently.
Ashton Kutcher.
Wash. See, Brian told us in the chat, he was like, he thought it was a joke. He thought this was just an ongoing joke. Yeah. This is a much needed PSA apparently, because you celebrities are not washing your ass, and then you're passing it down to your children. Wash your ass.
Also, real quick, how bad do you make your acting partners feel? You're not going to wash your ass before you're supposed to do an intimate scene with a colleague on set? Get fucked.
Because if it's a fake love making scene, those thrusts are going to smell like skunks. Like that's going to smell like ass.
Even if you got butt doubles in there, they probably wash terrible.
Jesus. That shit lingers. Wash your ass.
Shame on you.
Shame.
Look, all I want to add to this is like, you need to wash your legs too. Like you have to do
that. Yes.
And there are some people on Twitter who didn't know that, and I thought everybody knew that. So like, just wash your legs.
Wash your body. Don't let water just hit. And washing is not just letting water touch your body. It's not taking a whole bath or a bird bath. It's you get washed. Just wash.
Also, real quick, your ass can be your ass or your ass, which is your whole self.
Yes.
So just take it however you need to take it.
Yes.
That
goddamn loofah.
Please. Or a soap on a rope. Something. That does it for this week's episode of Films in Black and White. Thank you to those who tuned in to the live stream.
Yes.
Specifically, shout out to Sam Angel for being my accountability buddy this week. Also, shout out to just anybody who's listened. We really appreciate it. We will be back next week. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will catch y'all on the flip.
Wash your ass.